Hello and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Noah, and in this video I want to share some of my personal opinions and what I believe we can all take away from the recent event, I guess you can say, the recent assassination of the CEO of United Healthcare, Brian Thompson, that occurred just a few days ago. So before I begin my rambling, I guess, is generally the case with these videos, I do want to clarify that this isn't any kind of investigation video or analysis of anything. These are my own personal opinions that I really thought of. They were some of the first things that I thought of when I heard about this news. Right, this is huge news, especially because the assassin, I guess, is the gunman, however you want to label this individual, is still really at large, right? I don't know how close they are to at least identifying them. I don't think anybody knows really in the public. Only the FBI or police force, whoever's involved, they're the only ones that really know that. So this isn't going to be any kind of investigation thing or anything like that. This video is really meant to act as a perspective of someone who feels both sides of the fence, right? There's always two sides to every single story, and I want to try to articulate my thoughts in this video on this specific really huge story that happened just a few days ago. So obviously, first and foremost, really big tragedy, right? These kind of stories are unfortunately becoming relatively common throughout, not only the United States, but other parts of the world as well. And I'm going to kind of get into that later, versus, back in the 80s or 70s. I mean, these types of things really just, I felt like, and I wasn't alive in the 70s or 80s, but from my recollection of talking with family members and trying to look at news stories and so on, they didn't feel like they were as common as they are now. And that's obviously just a personal observation of mine, based off of my own empirical evidence. But they are becoming more common, unfortunately, and it is a tragedy, right? Because I don't believe that a lot of things need to be handled with such violence, but that is the way that life is right now. Such is life. Now, going back to what I mentioned in the introduction of this video, with there being two sides to every story, right? There's two sides to everything, and I think although it is difficult maybe for either side to kind of understand the other, we need to be able to put ourselves in other people's shoes, right, and at least understand the motives for why people do certain things, because at the end of the day, I do believe there are motives for almost every single instance, right? Every single event like this, there's always going to be an objective or rationale, rather, as to why people do certain things like this. Now, I'm not saying that these rationales are always just. I think there are completely uncalled for, unwarranted, unjust actions. Maybe thinking of someone like Ted Bundy, right, or Dahmer, or Ed Gein, or any number of these people who are clearly mentally not there, right? So their rationale is not just, because in their mind it was just, but just generally speaking, these people hadn't done anything to them, probably were just normal people and so on. But I think this instance, right, this event is a little bit different, right? Because we have someone who's relatively high profile, right? When you're a CEO of a company, the biggest healthcare insurance provider in the world, right? You are a pretty well-known individual in that space. Now, he's not any kind of movie star or anything like that. Certainly making money like a movie star was. But this is a high-profile individual, right? So the story and the background of what they're doing for their work, and how Brian Thompson was accumulating wealth and managing, basically, being at the helm of this company, it's a little bit of a different circumstance than Bundy or any of the other individuals that I previously mentioned. And I think this is really where we can start to see one of the sides of the fence, right, which is the side of the shooter, right? No one knows, who this individual is, who knows if it'll ever come out. The story is quite literally like a movie, and I'm sure it will be a Netflix show at some point, right? They're not going to do a Netflix movie because they need more watch hours, right? They do a 10 episode limited series, an hour a pop, 10 hours of watch time versus a 2 hour movie, right? That's what they're going to do. But that's kind of besides the point. But it is quite a story. And I think, trying to understand that individual side, right? Whoever it is a good place to start, because it's such a, like I said, it's such a violent act, right? It's a pretty crazy thing to do, to commit yourself to doing something like that. You basically condemn yourself for life, right? And they didn't necessarily look like a really old individual, so they have the rest of their life that they need to not only live with this, but probably run, right? Beyond the run, if they're not already, right, leaving the country. I mean, who knows, right? It's that, though, I don't want to get into skepticism or anything like that, because that's not the point of this video. But it's a huge thing to commit to, right? So trying to understand what's going on in their head, what their rationale was to do this, right? To actually plan it out and execute is a good place to start. And I think maybe, a lot of you viewers can kind of understand maybe where I'm ultimately getting at already, which is, when you are a normal individual, right? And this person who, this gunman, is likely a relatively normal, I mean, not normal anymore, but was a normal individual, probably had some personal opinions against the ethics and the morals of United Healthcare, and by extension the CEO Brian Thompson. And this kind of goes to the way that I think of it is that in the scene Spider-Man, right? I don't know if I have the best comparisons, right, in my videos. I know I do like to make a lot of comparisons, but this is what I thought of, where there is a scene, when Peter Parker starts developing his basically otherworldly powers, right? The huge, like, realization that he's got this strength and he can climb and he's got webs and stuff. It's huge, right? There is the point of Uncle Ben saying, with great power comes great responsibility, right? And that is true for, for everybody or every entity that has influence, power, pull, politically, whatever it is, right? If it's financial power, if it's influence over people's opinions, right? Maybe the individual might not be financially wealthy or a movie star or anything, but what they say resonates with people, and therefore what they say, people are going to follow, right? If you are in any position where you have some type of influence over people like that, you should have a moral responsibility, a moral compass that kicks in to say, I need to do the right thing with this power, right? I need to do the right thing with my influence. And I think from the perspective of the of the gunman, right, of the assassin, Brian Thompson and, or the company United Healthcare, and by extension, the CEO, Brian Thompson, was not fulfilling that duty, right? They with an extreme amount of influence with a company that is so involved with the most delicate aspects of people's life, which is their health, right? Ultimately. He didn't believe that they were doing what they needed to be doing. He didn't believe that their morals were in the right spot, and wanted to act on it, right? Even though that act is something, like I said, that is going to be with him for it. It paints a target on him for the rest of his life, really. And he's probably not that old either. So it's a huge endeavor to actually kind of partake in the way that he did. So that's one thing I think that we can really learn, is the opinion of the perpetrator, right? The opinion and the rationale of the assailant. And there's been a lot of other things on media that have kind of come out following this, where the support is almost split amongst, even though it was a murder, right? The the support for either side is, it feels like it's almost split 50-50, where you have medical doctors, right, MDs, that are uh, basically in direct view of the service that United Healthcare provides, coming out and basically going against them, right? Talking down on the services that they provide to their people, and by extension, really their morals, right? Because when you have a company and you look at their product or service, that is an extension of what they, their system, their whole process in general, salaries and everything, and their service is an extension of what they morally believe to be the right thing to do, right? So you have pretty smart people, right? MDs, doctors that have direct access into what these services are doing for people, coming out and saying, speaking poorly, right, of the company. So it's a very interesting dynamic where, you have these two sides, right, these two opinions, and then a great majority of the normal people, right, normies in quotes, kind of being split amongst, amongst the two sides of this event. One of the other things that I think we can really learn from this is that the world is becoming a very dangerous place, right? And I know people say that a lot, but I thought about it in a different way today, but right before making this video, where we have these companies, right, that manufacture firearms, and want to get firearms in the hands of people so they can profit from it, right? Make a lot of money, have a nice life for themselves, and do this and do that. And at the same time, that creates a normal that allows a normal population of people that are not professionally trained in combat, and have military experience and firearm training and everything, to basically have these powers of a WMD, right? And I know there's going to be some people maybe thinking, well, that's not the right term to use them for, because they're ICBMs. They're supposed to kill millions of people. But the way that I think of a WMD, a weapon of mass destruction, is that I think of the impact that it can have on people, right? So it's not just a body count of how many people will die; it's the impact that it will have on a multitude of people. And if you have someone with just a handgun firearm, right, and they kill a dad, a mother, whatever, that impact is going to be felt not only on their parents, right, the grandparents, but on their kids, and maybe on their kids, because with the loss of a parent, it can change people, right? And it doesn't always change people for the better. It can have an impact on their coworkers. It can have a impact on their close friends. And that to me is a WMD, right? That to me is a weapon of mass destruction. So you kind of have this dynamic where you've got all of these types of different companies providing different products and services. And like I previously mentioned, these companies that produce these firearms, and here in the United States, obviously it's pretty easy to get your hands on one. I could probably go to, my local Cabela's or something right now, just with my ID, and some cash, and actually get something that could cause huge amounts of damage if those were my intentions. So it almost creates this dynamic where you have a population of normal people becoming, or not necessarily becoming, but having the ability to become the biggest threat to anybody that they really don't like, right? Including, CEOs of the biggest healthcare, one of the biggest healthcare providers in the entire world, right? So it's very interesting, and I think we can definitely kind of take away a lot. At least I take away a lot from this, where it does make you kind of question some of the decisions that you might make on a day-to-day basis. And for people that are in positions like Brian Thompson was, right, where maybe they don't maybe they know that there is a target on them, right? Maybe they know that there's quite a few individuals that are not the biggest fan of them. they're kind of maybe starting to realize that the that there are other entities, companies within our ecosystem here in the United States that are helping fuel individuals who may want to take part in violent acts against them, right? So you just, it kind of goes back to things just being chaotic, right? And that is sometimes a good way to describe certain aspects of living in the United States here, pardon me, where things do feel like a zoo, right? Like a jungle. Like it does feel very, very chaotic. Where one thing that I think about quite a bit is, where does it lead to eventually? Eventually, is it going to get to the point where we have so many normal people, and so many people, normal people already right now, do have arms, right? Do have the ability to take part in these types of utterly groundbreaking these events, right? These assassinations, killings, whatever it is, because they are granted the means to by the very system that we live in, and it's a very kind of a scary thing to think about, right? It makes you definitely want to be on everybody's good side, no matter if you do, if you are the executive of a company, or if you're, just a neighbor, it makes you really want to be on everybody's good side, because you just never really know, what people's intentions are. But there you go. Those are a few of my thoughts on what we can learn from tragic events like this, because there are always learning opportunities in everything, right? And obviously, like I mentioned, this is a tragedy, but not everything is black and white, right? People have rationale for their actions, and in every action that they do have rationale normally, right? Unless you're a little messed up there. But I do want to hear from you guys. If you have anything to add, or if you have any other opinions on my own opinions, please let me know in the comment section below. I would love to hear your thoughts. And of course, if you have stuck along this far in the video, I want to thank you again so much for your time today, and I hope to see you again sometime soon.